Hi, welcome to Kim's Art Show, episode 30. Last time I did a couple of pastels, and the first one was episode 28, and it was this snowy scene, and so I took it home and I worked on it a bit, and always popping it in a frame, not always, but it helps to give me a perspective of what does it look like. What I had been drawn to in this scene was very much that the sky was so deep blue. We're used to the sky being the lightest color in our view, and actually the lightest color is the snow. So anyway, people in Norfolk, Mass might know this as Lawrence Street. There's this great barn, and there's a house here. The reference had the house in it. And midway through the episode, I was like, I'm not putting the house in, because you couldn't really tell what it was. So I blew up the tree a little bit and I made some changes. So that was where that landed. And then the next one was a night scene. We know I love night scenes, and a little bit different. It also went through some changes. It's supposed to have the same turtle crossing sign over here, and I nixed that. And there was another utility pole over here, and I nixed that. And I bring that up because artistic license is so important, right? And I talk about it. No one knows what's in your references. What they do know is in your painting. And so stress what's important to the end result of a good painting. So we've been working in pastel, and I'm going to be using the Prismacolor new pastels in the shiny box that I reinforced because I like the shape of that box, and the Sennelier Paris collection. I had announced that in all my years of painting, I've acquired too many art supplies, all kinds of things, mist-tint, house paint, like anything someone was giving away, I was taking. And so I decided I wasn't going to buy art supplies until maybe the end of March and see what I would use up. And then I was in Boston visiting my daughter and dropping some things off that she had needed. And there's that art supply store there that I like, and I went in to buy some canvas because I have this hankering to paint big oils. And so I wanted to stretch some canvas, and of course I walked by the pastels. And they have these new Sennelier pastel pencils. This was a sample that they gave out. Can you stand it? It's like a little pastel crayon. So I had the whole set in my hand of 48, and I said, no. What if you don't like them? It's not even that I'm on this, not spending. It was more, no, what if you don't like them? Which of course wouldn't be true. So I bought a white and a black, and I got the little sample, and I'll tell you that they are beautiful, wonderful. They're different than the pastel pencils that I usually bring because these are pastel little tiny bits encased in wood, like a normal pencil. They're very difficult to sharpen. Whenever I sharpen, I do use a blade as opposed to a pencil sharpener. But even then, the tip is never really where I want it to be. So these have proven a little bit more useful. Not as soft as, say, the Sennelier pastels, but still a wonderful tool. So, as always, I forgot my something, right? It was gloves today, but I'm going to be careful. And we're going to do a summer piece because it's winter, and I woke up to just a very light snow again. And so I thought, I'm going to do something of the ocean and a beach because that'll make me feel good on this February day. And I like panorama. Sometimes I do panorama split in half, so maybe it would be like a 15 by 15 and a 15 by 15, and then it's a diptych, two pieces together. But in this instance, I'm going to do this small piece, and we're just going to have fun. I was going through a bunch of my references, being like, I want to paint something summery today. And you know what I found were postcards from the museum. We have one from Winslow Homer and one from John Singer Sargent. This was at the MFA, and this was at the Isabella Stewart Gardner. And I love that I just happened upon these because they're so inspiring and a great way for me to remember those museum trips, but also why I bought these pieces. And I like that I just put them in with my references because all of a sudden I was like, that little bit of node to like these masterful painters and art history kind of gives me some great inspiration. All right, enough talking, except that the colors in here are a little bit understated. And I have this photo that is all blurry, but like the colors in it are lovely. And so I'm gonna keep this out in my view because again, like when I talk about this is my reference, but if I end up with something that's a little bit more vivacious in color, that's not bad. So, dark color, remember I'm not buying art supplies, and I have a lot of sheets of these dark notes, so that's what I'm working on. It's kind of tricky when it's such a light painting, but we'll see. And let's go. So I have, hey, let's use my new Sennelier pastel pencil. And this here is the like perimeter of my painting. And right, big shapes. The horizon, right, is where the sky meets the sea. And in this instance, it's almost halfway. And you know, you never want halfway, like that's one of those rules. But you know, like artists know the rules, and if you can break them well, hey, that's awesome. We'll see what happens. Mine is kind of dead center, right, what you don't want. And like I said, that doesn't matter. I was asked to do a workshop for some local elementary art school teachers, art teachers, so local elementary art teachers. And one of the things that the woman organizing it said was that she liked how cavalier that I am about the references. Like, your references can be bad. It's more about your memory of it. Or, you know, like you can work something in a different proportion than what it is. And I have always found that, like, if I were like too diligent in recording this, then that's too much pressure for me because I'm not going to like improve on that. But if I have, you know, a sense of I'm going to try to capture some essence of that, then that frees me up a bit. Okay, so do you see how we have these three trees? You know I love doing these kinds of shapes of those, like cedar trees or anything in that kind of fir family. The reflection, the light was hitting it so beautifully. It's very warm. The sky is very warm. And then the sea has some of that like blushy pink, but it's the majority of it is, you know, that blue with that reflection. So let's see. I'm gonna start with the new pastels that are hard. And like I said, I forgot my gloves, which is kind of a drag, but it's gonna, I think, make me a little bit more conscientious about how I apply the paint. Pigment. And because it's a dark surface, you know, it's going to take a few layers for me to cover it. And we'll see if I can do this in one episode or two. I have an idea in my head how I want it to look. And we'll see if I can get there. The color's really pretty. For those of you who've watched other episodes when I was working in gouache, you'll know that this first layer would have been like thicker and more opaque. And even though pastel is an opaque medium, I can apply it almost like a glaze. And you'll still see that color behind. Now, I have Q-tips that can blend, but see how much dust it provides? Like, sometimes I don't want that. And then I have this brush, and I used that in the last episodes. But again, I don't know that that's the kind of blending that I like, but you can really see if I, if I push into it, it can make it a deeper, more intense color. And now I'm going to put a cast of blue on top. Let's see what I have. My pastels, the new pastels, right? They're pretty not broken in yet. And so I find that they're hard for me to get out of the little case. Right, so see that kind of interesting glaze of a blue with that other color. Okay, so here's the water. The water goes all the way like this. Okay. And let's now get in the trees. So it's fun to think that a pastel painting is still considered a painting, even though you're drawing. And I was talking about this when I was teaching last evening, that we've talked about it in prior shows about pastel, that little stick can be every kind of brush that you need. However, I almost view like I'm the brush, right? And this is the pigment. Pastel is really fun and forgiving, right? So we've got those trees in. In the reference, they have a red on top of them because the light was that beautiful, like this kind of color, and it warmed those up. But right now, that's a very cool, bluey kind of evergreen. Don't worry, I'll get to it. Not that you're worried, right? All right, so there's some like dune grasses in front that I am just suggesting in. And see how nothing right now is a shape like line, line, line. You can't even see that because it's on the dark. It's more sideways and an influence of a color on top. Okay, so what color is the sand? It's actually very warm. Let's try this color. Colors always look different from here to their mark. Oh, I like that a lot though. Right, and then it kind of tapers out. So we talk about a good painting is like 3 or 4 shapes, right? So you see sky, water, land, trees. It's very simple when you can narrow it down to that. And like that good word that I've used before, that when you paint, you don't want it to look labored. You want it to feel like it was done with ease. And hopefully that's what is being conveyed. So this is one of the first times that I'm using it more like the round or pointer kind of brush. And getting a sense of that, right? That directional mark making. So the whole surface is covered for my tiny little painting, but I like that. Now I need to build it up. I think what I'm going to work on first, because what I want to do is correct values, colors, things like that. The grasses in front of those trees matter. So what I'm doing is picking a color that's almost like if I took a general kind of green and I added like a mustard yellow to it. So see that little difference. And that really nice thing about painting on a dark surface like this is that it's all the light. I am painting the light. And I've only used these hard pastels so far, but to nice effect. It always makes me laugh when I think, when I'm talking about my own painting, like, to nice effect. All right. There's also the reflection of the trees in the water that I want to suggest, except that color's not right. Maybe I'm going to do something in the blues. I have some favorite colors in the new pastels, and This is one of them. I think it's not dark enough though. Let's try this one. Oh, this is very blue. I don't like that. I want it warmer. Let's try this guy. So you can see why, as I explore color, that, I don't go in there aggressively until I've landed somewhere in color that I want. Okay, so I'm not finding the color in the NuPastel, so I'm going to move to the Sennelier soft ones. And I found it right away. Right, so you do get a sense, reflection, right? The dune grasses, land, water, sky. Let's spend some time on the sky. Let's be very organized and go top to bottom. And see, it's kind of coming off of my fingers, but not so bad. I am going to start with this beautiful, very pinky tone, and cover that over. And while I have it, I'm going to put it here too. And in the water. Now, when I look at pastel artists, I see that some of them, they leave their painting like this. Like they like some of the sanded finish there, but I don't like it like that. I need it to be covered up. You'll see as I progress what I mean. All right, so this is a very soft pink. Soft pink as the color, but also as the pastel. And I'm getting in there with it. I think I want it a little bit more orangey, pinky. So let's see. Can you see that little difference? I do like that. Right, so I'm starting to really build up the value, lightness or darkness of a color. Back to the hard pastels, and by using the hard pastel after the soft, I burnish that color in there. There's something very nice happening with those pinks that I'm blending into those, the lightly blue and that other pink that's on there. So I'm building that up, and I like it. I want it to be pinker, so now I'm going to take the pink that I've been using. Come on out. And over it again. So see how it's dusting? That's partially, that's expected in pastel. But I do really like how that feels. So we talk about edges, which is where color meets color. Edges with pastel can be hard and soft. And so I am really carving in some soft edges. Into these though, watch how I can paint the positive space is the trees, and the negative space is the sky. And I can define the trees by painting, see, the negative space of the sky into them, right? I love that. And I'm going to play with that more, but not too much, because as I start to do things like that, that's definitely into the decorate the cake. I can't help but always bring up that food reference. I just want to get this a little lighter up top because I find it distracting. Can't be distracted. All right. I think we're pretty straight. So, water. Let's try a gray. In the NuPastels, I have this very light gray tone. And I'm going to use that like the blender that I used in the sky. And what I want to do here is basically build it up to a level like that. Right, and I started using it very sideways. And then, so in other words, like the flat brush, and then also like a round brush. I really love that about pastel, and I don't know that people give pastels enough credit for the fact that it can be used as almost every kind of brush. Let's move into some softer ones and see what I can say. What about this color? You get such impact from making such light marks. And if you've watched my episode on color, it's here that I say, what color do I need? And it's like, I need a very warm mid-tone, like green that almost is like rusty red. So it's kind of funny, like a rusty red green. And then I look over into my pastels, like, do I even have a color like that? I kind of do. Let's see if it works. Oh, it's absolutely perfect. Right, so see how there's like a nice segue of where the light's hitting, where it isn't, and saying a lot without each brush stroke or pastel mark. All right, so what color is in here? All right, I have to think like this is such a great help in terms of advancing your painting, and it works for any medium, gouache, acrylic, oil, even watercolor. If I'm looking at the land, it's actually like a light to mid-tone, very warm, pinky, peachy color. So I walk over and I look at the pastels and I want a very warm mid-tone, pinky, peachy color. And do I have that? This is very orange. This is very, is this one it? It's so intense. Do I carefully put it on? Obviously I do because I put it there, but I like that intense color. Little dots of it, right? It's funny, I always try to be random, and I bet you can see that it's like you could almost measure like that space to that space to that space to that space. Like I'm very bad at random. I try to put things back where they were. It's funny, after doing that, this one color that I've been using is clearly now too cold. It needs to be almost into oranges. Do I have a color that I want? I'm going to try this one. Too cold. It needs to have more like orange undertones. So let's try, gosh, this one? So I'm finding that things are either too yellow or too like cold pink. So it's going to be something about layering, maybe. I like it though. I don't mind that it's wrong. It's that thing about like wrong, but to who? No one knows what this is, but we do know this. And responding to that, it's kind of nice. I'm just addressing a color problem up there. All right, I like it. Let's play with this water. I want it to be pinker, warmer. And so, playing like that, a little more harmonious together. Okay. Let's play with the trees. I want to warm them up. And so I have a really pretty color that's kind of like that warm, rusty green, but a little bit darker value. And I am dotting that on top of these trees. And let's see. And there's a lot of, like it's how much I push down makes a difference, right? Some nice detail coming up. So there's a little bit of this dark over here. I like this so far. I'm gonna put that back. I wanna build that color up. Let's try this one. Pastel is so wonderful for, like try something, color relationships. Let's see. I mean, anytime you paint really, you are increasing your understanding of like color and things that work, things that don't. All right, this is letting me down. So let's see, I need something that's like purpley. Come on out. Ah, look at that fun. Making some changes. Oh, I like this. So we're winding down. That's when I start to feel like this anxiety of like, is it good enough? What do I need? What do I say? And it's not like this piece is going to be in the next episode. Like you'll see it when I've decided it's done after sitting with it at home. And so like before we say we're all set today, like what kind of changes do I want to make? Let's make some marks here. So we know that these trees are green, but the reflection is not green. All right. Sometimes, you know, you've seen in the past, be it gouache or pastel, when I'm feeling kind of an imperative to make an impact, I get out a pencil and I do little drawing things to it. And so that is what I am doing here. You know, there's a little sailboat here. And some little marks and such. I like that. It's been fun to think about summer in the midst of not summer outside. So the tree breaks here. So see that little negative space? All right. So it's been a fun exploration of summer in the midst of winter. And I hope you've had fun watching. Because I've had fun painting. Heck, I can't even stop now. So thank you so much for watching. Tune in to the next episode, well, a couple episodes, and you'll see where it lands. I really love the colors.